379 Yada Yahowah. Qatsyr, harvests. 7. Taruw'ah, trumpets. The final blast. We have reached our intended destination, the point in the prophecy where Yeshaya presents the rabbinical response to Taruw'ah. In this regard, it is instructive to know that, in this next statement, the Masoretic renders Abad, have vanished, as a completed action, while the Dead Sea Scrolls depict something that has not yet come to fruition, and thus as will vanish, predicting a yet unfulfilled disappearance. Then, and so, in one Qatsyr but not the mount, those who are right, Tzaddik, the vindicated, righteous and just, those who are correct and in accord with the standard and thus upright, will vanish, their whereabouts unknown, Abad, will disappear such that those who remain will not know where they have gone, and no one will give it any thought, not one individual will take it to heart, will examine what may have occurred, with no one pondering the portent. Loyal and devoted individuals, Ish Chesed, the most steadfast and relationship-oriented people, will be harvested, gathered together and taken away. Asaph, will be withdrawn as they are escorted away, removed from their places and transported to a new location and state, while no one makes the connection to comprehend what has occurred, without anyone comparing 380 this prophecy to what has transpired so that they understand, not a soul realizing what happened. For indeed, surely, from, min, separated from and out of, the presence of, pana, the existence and appearance of, even having to face or be confronted by, this disastrous calamity and miserable suffering, such wickedness and wrongdoing, having one's fellow countrymen, friends and associates, even neighbors and companions become so destructive and harmful during this troubling time, those who are correct, Tzaddik, those who are right, and thus vindicated, just and righteous, upright and innocent, will be taken away. Asaph, will be gathered together and harvested, removed and escorted away. Yeshaya, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:1. Let it be known, Yahowah is a gentleman. The covenant is his family, and he is not going to expose his children to the worst man has to offer. Yeshaya, Isaiah 57:1 is predicting the Taruw'ah harvest, revealing that only those who are correct will disappear. They will be withdrawn so that they will not have to endure the impending calamity known to us as the time of Jacob's troubles. Not only will these Tzaddik, right-minded individuals vanish, but their whereabouts will also remain unknown to those left behind. And that is bewildering because the answers are so clearly delineated in this prophecy. Once those who are correct about God, and thus vindicated, are gone, no one will give them a second thought. The prophetic portent of this event is among the most important in human history, with covenant members being escorted to heaven, and yet no one remaining will be the wiser for it. Those of us who are Asaph, harvested and taken away on Taruw'ah will be withdrawn from a troubled 381 world and then transported to a better place where we will be transformed into a superior state of being. Even though we will leave this written legacy, one of the reasons that so few will notice is that our chesed, loyalty and devotion is to one they do not know. We are focused on our relationship with God at a time when they are consumed by their religion and politics. Rabbis will discount and disparage us as having no value. Since Yahowah was clear, let's be resolute, this is an Asaph, harvest, and is, therefore, the fulfillment of Taruw'ah. It will occur no sooner than the first day of the 7th month in year 5993 year, which is September 12, 2026. September 2nd or October 1st, 2027 are possibilities as is Taruw'ah on Wednesday, September 20th, 2028. And as we know, the latest this gleaning will transpire is September 9th, 2029, which is the first day of the 7th month in 5996 year. If so, the world will remain clueless as to where we were taken until Eliah and his fellow witness, Daud's herald, arrive on Passover the following spring in 2030 in the midst of the storm. We have learned two things about those who will be withdrawn: they are Tzaddik, correct, and Chesed, loyal. Since this is an open book test, where the answers are all provided, being right is relatively easy. And considering God's generosity, loyalty is only natural. Bin is one of my favorite words. I consistently view it in connection with the dot-to-dot puzzles I adored as a child. By connecting the dots in the correct order, a picture emerges out of a sea of seemingly random points. This Hebrew word for understanding reveals that the transition from merely knowing, to complete comprehension, requires us to make the proper associations, coming to appreciate how one thing leads to another and how they are related. In this case, to properly assess who was harvested, by whom, and why, one would 382 have to make the connection from this prophecy to its fulfillment. The triggering event will be Ra, a time when one's fellow countrymen, friends and associates, neighbors and companions, especially shepherds, and thus pastors and rabbis, are universally and hideously wrong. The Ra, deceived, are being contrasted with, and separated from, the Tzaddik, right. A time of terrible calamity is on our horizon. Far worse than the COVID-19 lockdowns of 2020, by 2029 the world will be at war with itself and with nature. There will be suffering beyond our comprehension. Billions will die. Those who are correct will be withdrawn and taken away. Unfortunately, we will be so few in number that the religious leaders will brush our disappearance aside as if it did not occur. This passage provides yet another clue as to when the Taruw'ah harvest will transpire. It states, "For indeed, ky, away from and out of, min, the presence of, pana, the existence and appearance of, having to face or be confronted by, this disastrous calamity and miserable suffering, ra, those who are correct, hazadik, will be taken away, asaf. The children of the covenant will be taken to heaven prior to the worst of Jacob's troubles." This timing is reinforced in Yeshaya 17. There we were told that this gleaning would occur after the fall of Damascus when Israel is thinned at the waist. That is, of course, indicative of imposing the two-state solution, making Israel indefensible. Therefore, before our departure becomes imminent, we will know which of these 4 possible days in 2026 through 2029 this will occur. And in the interim, let's invest our time trying to increase the number who travel with us. We have Yahowah's promise to withdraw us 383 before it gets really nasty, and that should be good enough. Speaking of the loyal and correct who will be harvested in Yahowah's vernacular, we discover that they will go to a better place. And then, in addition, in one Qatsyr but not the mount, he will arrive, entering into, and included among, he comes by way of a harvest, is brought into, and is associated with, the reconciled, tranquil, prosperous, safe, and saved, shalom, those in protective custody, totally satisfied, absolutely content, renewed, healthy, peaceful and harmonious, secure and restored, enjoying the most favorable of all circumstances with friends and companions. They will be spiritually allied, nuvak, they will be led and guided to a favorable and restful spirituality, from ruach, becoming a child of the Spirit, within, his in one Qatsyr but there in the mount, restful environs, mishkab, his lodging and furnishings designed for comfort, rest, reflection, and thoughtful meditation, from to ponder the implications of shake-up, a restful place and situation, possibly mishkan, dwelling place, a home and tabernacle, walking in a manner which is right, honest, fitting, and proper, holok nakoch, traveling through life in an appropriate manner, truthful and sincere, in accord with what is correct while being straightforward and upright, with her, as in our spiritual mother, in one Qatsy's her versus his in the mount. Yashaya, Yahowah saves, Isaiah 57:2. Now we know who will be taken to heaven during the 1,000-year celebration of Sukkah. Those enjoying Yahowah's hospitality have anticipated Daud's return, observed the Torah, attended the Mikra, and accepted the Berith. As a result, we will be among the Shalom, reconciled and prosperous, safe and saved. We will enter 384 the Shalom, protective custody of our Heavenly Father and spiritual Mother, finding total satisfaction, absolute contentment, renewed health, peace and harmony, security and restoration in the most favorable of all circumstances with friends and companions. If there was not so much to accomplish between now and then, every covenant member would like to depart on the next Taruw'ah. It is telling that Yahowah added upright and journey to his heavenly depiction. This confirms that, after a well-deserved respite, we will be out and about exploring the universe. We are being imbued with Yahowah's spiritual energy, making us more like him. He is, thereby, enriching, enlightening, and empowering his children. One of the reasons rabbis will miss this harvest, and miss its significance, is explained in the next pronouncement. But as for you all, atom, who are present, Karab, who are offering your legal retort, at this time and place, henna, you are children of fortune-tellers who are blowing smoke, Beni Anan, sons of those casting obscure spells, pretending to foretell future events with clouded judgment, and conjuring up a respect for the dead, while cavorting with evil spirits and making things appear to be other than they actually are, the seed, zerah, the offspring, byproduct, and consequence, of adultery, naf, of being unfaithful by being religious, and prostitution, wazana, whereby you accept money for being unfaithful and luring others away from a loving relationship, and are thus despised and loathed. Yashaya, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:3. By selling their blessings promising a more fortuitous future, rabbis are Anan, fortune-tellers. By promoting their Talmud, Mishnah, and Zohar over the Torah, they are Anan, blowing smoke and clouding the issue. In the 385 Babylonian Talmud there are copious reports of rabbis Anan, casting spells. But their Anan, judgment is obscured, especially when they Anan, conjure up respect for the dead, all but worshipping the rabbis who have deceived before them. From Yahowah's perspective, the rabbis are Anan, cavorting with evil spirits while Anan, pretending to be what they are not. Rabbis are the product of spiritual adultery, making them prostitutes in God's view. And make no mistake, Yahowah is describing today's rabbis. There are no others present at this time and place qualifying for this scathing indictment. Moreover, as we have seen, they are a perfect fit, size infinitesimal, and only available in black. The rabbis, or exalted ones, see themselves as being in control, and they present their words as law. 600 years before the term rabbi was first applied to men by religious zealots, Yahowah asks, over whom and upon what basis, Almai, are you effeminate and overly sensitive individuals exploiting and mocking, anag, manifesting feminine attributes, more like women than men, verbally ridiculing and exploiting the sensitivities of others, while finding pleasure in being pampered by the resulting luxury? Against what and over whom, Almai, do you open your mouth and boast, Rachapay, do you exalt yourselves, pretending to be big shots, exuding confidence which is not justified, especially in your arrogant speech, sticking out your tongues, Arak Lashon, prolonging your speeches? Are you not, Lo Atom, the children, Yeled, the little boys, of rebellion who rose up in clear defiance of authority, Pesha, of the revolt, of those contrary to the established standard, of offensive criminals, and thus of the religious, the seed of, Zerah, offspring and product, the means of discriminating, vain and useless liars and 386 mistaken beliefs, Shekah, of false and fraudulent testimony, of misleading witnesses, of irrational deception, and disappointing oaths? Yashar, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:4. Woe! Rabbis beware. God has your number, and you are not going to like his call. He has exposed you, laying you bare. Who do you think you are playing with? On what basis are you mocking the Almighty? You have nothing to offer by comparison. Just looking at the Hasidic gives me the creeps, and evidently, I am in good company. They are so effeminate with their mourning clothes and curlicues. With arms the size of straws, it is apparent that these societal parasites have not worked an honest day in their lives. Mind you, God loves women, and so do I, but these little boys look and act more like little girls. And they have wee little brains too. Indoctrinated in an antiquated religion, unable to think for themselves, deprived of free will, and without instruction in languages, the sciences or rhetoric, they are mentally atrophied. To be Haredim is to waste one's life, and potential while antagonizing Yahowah in the process. I suspect that Dowd will find the rabbis particularly annoying. As Israel's most stalwart supporter, he will reject them out of hand for their universal failure to lift a finger in defense of their country. Rabbis claim their authority from the Torah, and yet they are not mentioned in it, other than to be condemned by the prophets. They claim to represent God, and yet, they despise his name and rebel against his authority. Without a reason to boast, they are obnoxious. Yahowah provided a fitting depiction of these religious leeches, calling them, Yeled, the little boys 387 who Pesha, have rebelled, rising up in open defiance of his authority. Their religious revolt remains contrary to the established standard of the Torah. Rabbis are Shekah, vain and useless liars fraudulently promoting mistaken beliefs. Their testimony is irrational, deceptive, and disappointing. And yet 20% of Jews, the most ultra-orthodox, guzzle down their diatribes as a dog returning to its vomit. If you are among them, go away. You are as disgusting as is your religion. God wants nothing to do with you, which makes your lies all the more appalling. It is only after the Orthodox disinfect themselves by disavowing their debilitating lifestyle that there will be hope. Rabbis will protest that their title means teacher, and yet that is not true. To instruct and teach in Hebrew is lamed. To be a teacher is more. The root of the title, rabbi, is rab, exalted and great. Therefore, rabbi would be from Rabbi, which means I am great. The verbal root is rabbah, meaning to become great. Applying this sentiment to oneself conveys arrogance, with man acting as if he were God. And yet, this hubris is the essence of the religion. Are you not those who burn with lust and rage, ha-ha-kamam, with strong feelings of animosity and get overly excited and heated, over the lamb and leadership, Bah-ha-el, over the wall and who governs it, and under, Takath, in relation to, every spreading tree, Shirletz Ronan, killing the children, Shakat ha-yeled, slaughtering, taking the lives with little or no remorse or hesitation, within the depressions, Bah-ha-nakal, in the valleys and gorges, wadis and ravines, beneath the clefts in the rock. Takath Seif ha-selah, the fissures of stone. Yashar, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:5. 388 The rabbinical defiance against providing a healthy portion of lamb on the Seder plate is a legend. Their meatless bone, surrounded by a medley of vegetables, aptly reflects Cain's offering. It is defiant. Not long ago, The rabbinical parties became apoplectic over the appointment of Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who excluded them from a role in his government. They had become spoiled and fat supporting Benjamin Netanyahu, who paid exorbitant fees to buy their loyalty under the parliamentary system, and is doing so again during this rewrite in the summer of 2023, taking the nation to the brink of civil war. Moreover, in keeping with the prophecy, the rabbis fought for control of the Western Wall. But what about their passion for trees? The answer may lie in 2 by Shavat, the 15th day of Shavuot, which is celebrated as Rosh Hashanah Lalanot, New Year of the Trees. As one of 4 New Years in the rabbinical calendar, it is presented in the Mishnah for the purpose of establishing an annual cycle of tithes, which they receive as a religious mandate. It is similarly promoted in the Talmud and in Kabbalistic and Hasidic literature. It has morphed into Israeli Arbor Day. Even in their malfeasance, there are insights into the rotting hearts of rabbis. 15 would typically be written Yud Hey, 10 plus 5 equals 15. But since this spells year, the name of their nemesis, the rabbis went with Tetwah, 9 plus 6 equals 15. The same goes for 16 because Yahowah was contracted to Yahweh and then to Yah over time. And that is why virtually every lexicon affirms the connection between Yah, Yahweh, and ultimately Yahowah. So, 16 is usually written as Tetzayin, 9 plus 7, instead of Yahweh, 10 plus 6 equals 16 and spells Yahweh. Further, the rabbis chose to impose their assembly in Shavuot, meaning scepter, thereby staking their dominion over year. Qatsyr. 389 rabbinical malfeasance has Ronan, spread far and wide, not only among Jews in diaspora but also through Jewish contributions to Christianity, Islam, and socialist secular humanism. These deep and dark depressions of religious thought have killed more children than all of man's other institutions and civilizations combined. And every child forced into Hasidic Judaism by his father is destined to die. In this regard, Ronan is based upon Ra, which is to disseminate evil. The 2 nuns indicate that the recipients are children. Likewise, Nakal also denotes disease, the infliction of a mortal and incurable wound. Further, the same 3 letters speak of taking a possession, especially an inheritance right. The associations with stealing a child's inheritance and spreading disease are appropriate when viewed in a religious context. Further, the root of seif, translated as clefts, is likely seif, meaning disloyalty, twisted thinking, despicable and contemptible behavior, moral corruption and lawlessness. Rendered in this manner, the rabbis were killing their own children, taking their inheritance, which is eternal life with God, by way of their own disloyal, twisted, and despicable behavior. These options considered, if we were to associate each word with its root, we would read Yahowah saying, "You spread out and grow rich," Ronan, by taking the lives of, Shakat, children, Yeled, spreading disease and stealing their inheritance, Nakal, under the auspices of, Takath, highly, Selah, twisted thinking and despicable behavior, Seif. Yashaya 57-5. Continuing to use symbolic language and a play on words to dress down the religious dress-ups. Your fate, Shalakath, your share and reward, your apportionment reflecting your choice, grave, and 390 inheritance, Nakal, depression and pit, infirmity and disease, are among, the smooth-talking and insulting flatterers and thieves who destroy, Chelik, harmful slippery-tongued false preachers who steal, taking booty, as well as the smooth stones used to encourage idol worship. There they go as your lot, Shembo Kargoral Ath, there they are as your allotment and recompense, from 1 Qatsyr. And so to them, Gam Lahem, you have poured out drink offerings, Shafak, uplifting, Allah, raising up, grain offerings Mincha, gifts. For these things, Ha-al-el li, shall I relent and change my mind, Nachem, shall I be consoled and comforted. Yashaya, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:6. God is fair, people get to choose their fate. An individual can accept his inheritance or cast a lot among men and see where their flattering talk leads. But be certain of this, Yahowah will not change his mind or approach. The religious cannot appease him. Heaven comes on his terms while hell awaits those who advocate a different approach. Yahowah is saying that he isn't going to change his nature or his covenant to accommodate those who work against him to the detriment of his children. The third statement etched in stone stands as he wrote it. Lifting up and supporting deceitfulness and lifelessness in God's name continues to be unforgivable. Speaking to the Jewish religious leadership. On a high mountain, you have arrogantly, Al-Har Gaboah, made, set up, established, appointed, your bed, Mishkabath, raising it up and advocating it, Nasa, carried away with it, praising and exalting it. Additionally, Gam, there, Sham, you ascribed high status to yourselves, Allah, lifting yourselves up, by 391 slaughtering the living, Zabak, sacrificing life as an act of worship. Yada Yahowah saves, Isaiah 57:7. Rabbis have, indeed, made their own bed, and in it they will sleep. No matter how lofty a perch they set it upon, every edifice they contrive will come crashing down. If not for the lives they sacrifice in the name of their religion, no one would care about the harm they bring upon themselves. Throughout human history, and around the globe, clerics and kings used child sacrifices to drive fear into the hearts of their subjects and thus gained control of them. But the brutal murder of children is not the most heinous crime political and religious leaders have perpetrated. More abhorrent still, at least in the eyes of God, is the spiritual assassination of children at the hands of their parents and the religious. This occurs in churches, synagogues, temples, and mosques. It is our responsibility to educate our children, to expose them to the evidence which exists in favor of Yahowah and against all other claims to divinity. That way, when exposed to false witnesses, they will be forearmed and equipped to deal with the wide variety of threats launched against their souls. Fearful of the truth, the Hasidic deny their children access to the internet. Now you know why. In this passage, God has also warned us that religions have a bad habit of extending their power and influence by motivating their adherents to plunder and kill all those who do not capitulate. All too often, the religious warrior is promised admission to paradise along with a dubious list of heavenly rewards for killing others. While Islam is renowned for this, they do not have a patent on it. Shinto Imperial Japan had kamikazes, the divine wind. Spartans valued no life and lived to die in 392 battle. The Vikings had stations in Valhalla equivalent in reward to how ferociously one died. Pope Urban II offered crusaders a pardon from judgment if they died fighting to regain the Holy Land. Returning to the gatekeeper metaphor, Yahowah, speaking through his prophet, predicts that religious rulers would stake out their claim on the wrong side of the door, then lingering at another, wachar, delaying while holding back, hesitating at a different and subsequent, door, deleth, gate or entrance, and its framework, mazeuza, doorposts and jam, you have set up and placed, sim, you have appointed, your own memorial and maxims, zikaronath, your own symbols and signs, proverbs and statements. Indeed, ky, clearly, separated from me, mineth any, apart from me, you have revealed and uncovered, galah, you have exposed and aired, your bed, mishkabath, and your death briar, and climbed up into it, Allah, while enlarging it, rachab, making it roomy so as to accommodate many. Then, you established, karath, you cut, making, for yourselves and with them, lath minhem, devotees and lovers, ahab, a relationship with those who are attracted to you and find you desirable, in whose bed, mishkabhem, you have beheld, choosing to gaze upon, chaza, observed and preferred, their phallus, yod. Yada Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:8. Mazeuza, translated as framework, is from ziz, meaning the fullness and abundance of life. If it had not been a rabbinical replacement, this would have been the doorway to heaven, the passageway to eternal life. The door to life is found in the Torah and opened during the Mode Mikrei. To lead Jews in a different direction, rabbis wrote their alternative in the Talmud. 393 having chosen to make their bed apart from God, the rabbis stand exposed by Yahshua. It is, therefore, a shame that the religious charlatans retain their lovers. The sexual abuse crisis pummeling the Roman Catholic Church is not exclusive to pedophile priests. While they can claim Olympic gold in all-around perversity, the bronze medal goes to the rabbis who are only slightly less egregious. Muslims can claim the silver medal for reasons explained in Prophet of Doom. And true to form, when exposed by those they have abused, the Hasidic condemn the victims while rallying around the rabbinical scum. Recognizing that we turn to this passage to affirm the nature and timing of the Taruw'ah harvest, this subsequent material provides valuable insights into the religious and political landscape that will exist immediately before and after the fulfillment of the invitation to be called out and meet of trumpets. And what we are seeing here is that Judaism is now on center stage because it is what a remnant of Yahweh will be saved from as we progress toward Yom Kippurim. In the next statement, the Dead Sea Scrolls confirm that the rabbis modeled their religion after Moloch, the Ammonite and Phoenician sun god whose religious rituals Yahowah condemned repeatedly, calling Moloch the harlot, the whore of Babylon. Admonitions against Moloch, and veneration of him, can be found in Kara, Leviticus 25, where Yahowah says that he will separate himself from those who chase after this whore. In Yeshaya, Isaiah 30:33, we learn that hell was created for Satan in the guise of gods like Moloch, and that fire and brimstone will be his lot. Moloch is called a detestable idol in Melachim, 1 Kings 11:7. He is the abomination of Ammon in Melachim, 2 Kings 23:13. Moloch's religion is excoriated in Qatsyr, Leviticus 18:21, 20-2-5, Melachim, 2:394, Kings 23:10, and Yirmiyah, Jeremiah 32:35, saying that honoring Moloch profanes the name of Yahowah. God reveals that anyone who performs a religious rite in Moloch's honor will lose their life. And we are told that the Lord Baal, Satan's most common title, and Moloch are one and the same. They built shrines to Baal and caused their children to pass through the fires of Moloch, which is an abomination. These associations considered, let's proceed. You descended toward Shah, you traveled from a higher place to a diminished one, lowering yourself by showing a regard for Moloch, Laha Moloch, Moloch, king of the gods, the god of the Ammonites and Phoenicians to whom Israelites sacrificed their infants in the valley of Hinnom, from Malach, to become a sovereign ruler, with bar, oil, semen, anointing olive oil, and numerous perfumes along with your medicinal ointments, Warabarequak, sending out, Salah, dispatching, delegations of your anguished envoys, Seaath, your tormented messengers and troubling representatives, as witnesses into perpetuity, add, unto the distant separation of, Min Rakak, the humbling and lowly status, Shafal, the abasing and destructive nature of being diminished, endured upon reaching, add, Sheol, hell. The place of separation and no return where those being punished are incarcerated forever in what appears to be a black hole, from Shal, granted upon request. Yashar, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:9. This is the ultimate place of departure. Those harvested by Yahowah on Taruw'ah are escorted to heaven while those dispatched by the rabbis are sent away to Sheol. We can descend with the religious or ascend in the relationship. Either way, up or down, there is no checkout time, so I'd be careful before booking reservations. 395 Based upon all we have learned about Sheol, this place of eternal separation from the light, of perpetual incarceration where nothing escapes, of being infinitely diminished except in time, it is similar to a black hole. And to think that the rabbis are sending their devotees to this place while denying its existence is reprehensible. Speaking of those who sided with the whore of Babylon, God says, with the variation and duration of your long rabbinical, Rob, journey, your ways, Derekath, were wearisome, Yaga, required the expenditure of considerable effort, but you never admitted, Lo Amar, it is hopeless, Yarash, it is futile. Reinvigorated, Chea, you expressed, Matzah, you extended, your influence, your Ath, your desire to reach out and attempts to gain control, such that you did not show weakness, Alken Loshala, so that you did not appear weak or grieved. Yashar, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:10. There are countless variations of Judaism as rabbis have added their personal pronouncements to the pile of manure which preceded them. The notion that the Talmud is an alternative Torah dating to the time of Moses is, well, to use the Irish name for such things, malarkey. The preponderance of the Talmud was compiled in Babylon, around 500 CE. The Rambam, Rabbi Moses ben Maimon, or Maimonides, as a converso Muslim, codified this Talmudic law in his 14-volume Mishnah Torah in the 12th century. In modern parlance, we would call him a trash collector. The Zohar was written in a cryptic, obscure style of Aramaic used only by rabbis in the late Middle Ages. It first appeared in Spain in the 13th century when it was published by Rabbi Moses de Leon. To garner undeserved credibility, de Leon falsely credited the book to Rabbi 396 Shimon bar Yochai, a disciple of Rabbi Akiba, who was the most nefarious of Jews, having brought the wrath of Rome upon Judea while promoting a false Messiah. In particular, Hasidic Judaism is an even more recent phenomenon, emerging in Poland in the 1700s. It was promoted by Baal Shem Tov, Lord of the Good Name, also known as Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer. As a result, Hasidic Jews remain mired in the 18th century, unable to progress or extricate themselves. These are your assassins Yisrael, the 5 deadliest Jews. To this most wanted list, I would add the wannabe Rabbi, Shaul, Paul, of New Testament infamy, and then Muhammad of Quranic infamy, but those are stories for different books. With life becoming ever more miserable for Jews due to religious and political oppression and debilitating anti-Semitism, no one stood up against the rabbis to announce the obvious, this is not working. With every word the rabbis wrote, with every deception that flowed from their poison pens, no one ever admitted, this is futile. As Stockholm children, they redoubled their efforts. They never wearied of being played by their own. Jews rallied around their rabbis, clinging to them for advice, when they were actually the reason Jews were suffering, separated from their land and their God. Jewish religious leaders are going to spend eternity in Sheol for committing the unforgivable sin. They led souls away from Yahowah, and to gods bearing other titles and names. This prophetic proclamation from God's lips to rabbinic ears, is among the saddest we have encountered. What did you find so troubling that you were afraid of me, eth my dog yeah, what was so worrisome and concerning that you did not respect me, from one Qatsyr with the conjunction and second you, such 397 that, ky, so that, you became deceptive in so many ways, becoming proven liars, weaving your delusions on behalf of a false god, Kazab, your opinions are wrong about God, what you write and say is counter to reality, you are worshipping something that is not real, only imagined, Peel imperfect active. Believers suffer the effect of these continual and deliberate lies. You have not thought about these things, nor have you been inclined to, while lo simul labath joth, you have not set it upon your heart or placed it in your mind to, from one Qatsyr where these things appear, be associated with me, eth any, and you have not mentioned me because you do not remember who I am, lo zakar, you do not proclaim the truth about me or respond to me in an appropriate manner, never recalling anything memorable about me, from one Qatsyr. Have I been negated because I have been silent, ha lo any chasha, have I been eliminated and nullified for not responding? Has it been so long, wa min olam, that you do not respect me and are against me, eth any lo yeah, that antagonism toward me has foreclosed any reverence for me? Yada Yahowah saves, Isaiah 57:11. The answer to the first question is simple. God has no use for the rabbis. He only mentions them to condemn them. So, the rabbis created a different God, by a different designation, in their own Torah, masquerading as the Talmud, to replace Yahowah's anti-religious testimony. They needed a God who would support their lust for control and money, so they made their own. There is no room for religion, no opportunity to get rich deceiving the people, in the Torah. Therefore, rabbis substituted their Talmud. Compare the two, and it becomes readily apparent who is lying. Rabbis have been deceptive in so many ways that it is obvious to anyone who reads the 398 Torah and prophets that Judaism is counter to reality, filled with the unsubstantiated opinions and wild imaginings of rabbis. To believe them is to be deluded. That is God's conclusion, you may form your own. Claiming to speak for God and pretending that they are the only ones qualified to study the words of Hashem, in actuality, the rabbis do not give Yahowah a second thought. They are not the least bit inclined to consider anything meaningful about him. Rabbis say nothing of Yahowah because they do not know who he is. If that sounds harsh to your ears, you can blame me if you like, but I am conveying Yahowah's sentiments. There is no mention of Yahowah anywhere in the vast array of rabbinic writings, not in the Talmud, not in the Mishnah Torah, nor in the Zohar, not even in the more recent drivel attributed to Baal Shem Tov. The rabbis have left a written legacy, one dating back 2,000 years and continually updated by their ilk, providing absolute proof that they have not thought about, that they have not been inclined to be associated with, and that they have not so much as mentioned Yahowah even once. Should you disagree, prove God a liar. But good luck with that, because this prophetic statement, like every other, was and remains accurate. There is no rabbi today, nor has there ever been one, who knows or speaks the truth about Yahowah. And so, now we know why the Almighty ventured outside of the tribe to find and develop a Nakar and Nakri, observant foreigner, a Chota, secondary branch, a Basar, herald, Ed, witness, and Malak, messenger, a Cowl, voice known as Yada to awaken his people and call them home. Israelites were too busy deceiving one another to listen to Yahowah or consider his son, Daud. The answer to the second question posed by God is found in the first. Rabbis were able to neglect and negate, 399 actually nullify Yahowah among their brethren because God has remained silent for so long. It has been 2,400 years since the word of Yahowah was last conveyed through a prophet. The reason is simple, there was no one willing to serve Yahowah in the role of Nabi. As a result of the rabbinical influence, Jews were led so far away from Yahowah, none were willing to listen to him. Without a Nabi, there would be no new revelations, just the fulfillment of the prophetic writings. As a result of Rabbinic Judaism, Jews have lost all contact with and respect for Yahowah. It is only by walking away from Judaism that Jews become Yahweh again, and once more embody what this name represents. Earlier in this discussion, Yahowah explained that he spoke through a Nakar. Now you know why. These words may be disorienting for Jews. To know that God despises rabbis, and has called them liars and parasites, is a bitter pill to swallow. It means that 2,400 years of Jewish men, women, and children have been lost among their deceptions. The only thing worse would be continuing along their deviant path away from the truth. If it matters, I share your pain. I was once entangled in the myths of Christianity, an ordained elder and evangelist. 40 years ago, I believed Paul. I led Bible studies on the New Testament. The discovery that I had been played for a fool was traumatic. I was angry at the religious and disappointed in myself. I remain apologetic and remorseful that was once part of the problem. I am genuinely remorseful and, yet, delighted to grasp the opportunity to capitalize on a second chance. And this is particularly germane for Jews because Yom Kippurim is your second chance, and it is rapidly approaching. If you elect to join me, you will find that a horrible burden will be lifted from you. For the first time in your life, being receptive to Yahowah, at long last, you will 400 journey to the place where his words lead. Joy will replace sorrow as the darkness will be swallowed up by the light. This is the opportunity that awaits Jews en route to becoming Yahweh again. Religion continues to be the greatest obstacle to knowing Yahowah. And since Yahowah wants his people to know him, he is resolutely forthright in exposing and condemning Judaism. I will correctly recount your work, accurately portraying your customs and practices, any nagad zardaka athwa ethmaseath. I will truthfully report your decisions, what you believe is right, and your sense of justice, even your righteousness, along with your deeds, from one Qatsyr which corrects the mounts there to your, but it will not be to your benefit, while lo yalath, so that you are shown to be without merit or value. Yashar, Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:12. Yashar is addressing those who claim that they are Zardaka, righteous and right, just and justified among his people. Therefore, this remains a focused attack by God on rabbis and Judaism. To condemn them and repudiate their religion, Yahowah will tell the truth about them. In fact, that is what you are reading here. Nothing is more caustic to religious beliefs than Yahowah's testimony when it is accurately presented. Every rabbi, pope, cardinal, and bishop, every imam, pastor, and priest, along with many politicians and teachers will be exposed in this way, hanged by their own words and deeds. Whether they taught that there was no God, or they spoke of a God by a different name, Yahowah has put them on notice that he will hold them accountable by correctly recounting their words and deeds. For those of you who have read them, you know that this is how Prophet of Doom, questioning Paul, and more recently, Babel, were composed. I destroyed the credibility 401 of Muhammad, Paul, and even Satan using their own words and deeds, nothing more. There may be a less damning fate awaiting those who have justified the unjustifiable without having become aware that their representations of God are inaccurate. At best, they will have their souls destroyed at the end of their counterproductive lives. But it should be noted that it is unlikely that a person would reach the level of rabbi, pastor, preacher, imam, mentor, spokesperson, politician, or professor and have done so without realizing somewhere along the way that there were serious flaws and inconsistencies in the system they were advocating. Yet, most continued pontificating their errant message, even fooling themselves into justifying what they had come to suspect was unreliable. And yet, they are not willing to surrender the status they have achieved, nor endure the indignity of being ostracized by their peers, to admit that they were promoting myths. For the souls who waited too long to choose Yahowah over the rabbis, who may have become too comfortable relying upon one another, Yahowah says, when you finally cry out for help, Barzakath, when the time comes that you wail in agony and summon assistance, finally offering a proclamation to gather together, Cal infinitive construct, as a verbal noun, those who cry out are actually defined by their response, irrespective of time, let your assemblies and what you have accepted, Kaibuzath, your accumulation of things, your companions, your convocations, and that which you have received and assumed to be true, from Kabul. To receive and accept assumptions which correspond to that which is actually the opposite, save you, Natsalath, deliver you to a more favorable circumstance, sparing you. 402 Every one of these meaningless and futile things, as if they were a fleeting breath, wa eth shurlhem hebel, all of the useless content and idle statements as if vapor, arrogant and worthless opinions imbued with false hopes, from one Qatsyr, the spirit, Ruach, will grasp hold of and carry away, Nasalakak. But, Wah, the one who takes refuge in me, Parchesa bar any, the one who seeks my protection by trusting and relying upon me to keep him or her safe, comforting them, Kal participle active, the one is from one Qatsyr, will inherit, Nahol, will receive as an inheritance and thereby take possession of, Kal imperfect, actually and without limitation, the land, Eres, and become an heir to, Wa Yarash, receiving the inheritance of, my set-apart mountain, Ha Kodesh Eni. Yashar, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:13, bygones are bygones and thus forsaken. Those who cling to the past will be unheralded in the future. The use of kaibus is clever, albeit biting. On the surface, it reveals that far too many Jews will expect their devotion to their high holy days, these counterfeit and replacement religious assemblies, to save them. They will also turn to their beliefs, expecting the rabbinic delusions to suddenly prevail after a millennium of failures. Neither their religious assemblies nor what they have accepted will deliver them from the time of Jacob's troubles. Their great kaibus, accumulation of things, their many companions, their plethora of convocations, and the vast magnitude of what they have received from the rabbis and assumed to be true will be as vapor. Digging deeper, Kibbutz forms the basis of kibbutz, the farming collectives in Israel which became the seed from which the socialist secular humanist dreams of communism would emerge. Even worse, kibbutz is from Kabul, to receive and accept assumptions which 403 correspond to that which is actually the opposite. Kabul in the feminine is Kabbalah, the spiritualism of the rabbis as proclaimed in their Zohar. Whether it is socialism or spiritualism, Yahowah described his people accurately, just as he said he would. Religious pronouncements are all futile, holding no more weight with God than a fleeting breath and the residual vapor. The Ruach Kodesh will blow them all away, cleansing the earth of these debilitating lies. The answer, the antidote for religion, is to trust and rely upon Yahowah. Those who do will inherit the land of Israel, along with all the benefits of the covenant. As God's children, we will live in His presence atop His set-apart mountain. There is but one eternal, universal, deserving, completely informed, rational, just, and moral judge with the authority to determine the fate of souls. But there are three types of souls who will come before Him and three outcomes derived from those meetings. Those who have come to know Yahowah, love Him, trust Him, rely upon Him, adore His word, His covenant, His Shabat, and His name will be greeted as family and welcomed as God's children by their loving Father. There will be no judgment, no bowing down, no review of our words and deeds. We will inherit all that is Yahowah's and live forever with Him as Yahweh, beloved by Yah. The second group of souls who will come before the judge, or more accurately, His witnesses, is identified in these words. God has told us that the record of their beliefs and deeds will be exposed and denounced. They will be found guilty of an unforgivable crime. With their cultural codes, societal edicts, and religious tomes, they led people away from Yahowah. Their sentence will be to endure eternity with like-minded souls. They will be incarcerated 404 with demons and be forever separated from Yahowah in Sheol. As such, Hebel is breath, the symbol of mortal life, and of spoken words. Yahowah's spirit will, therefore, seize mortal souls whose lifeless words misled others, carrying them away to an eternity in Sheol. The third category of souls who will come before the judge is the most numerous. They represent 99.9% of humanity. These mortals will have died not knowing Yahowah and, therefore, God does not know them. They will have lived their lives uninterested in God or deceived as to His nature. They are the victims of man's religious, political, and cultural schemes, not their advocates. These mortal souls without any spiritual affiliation will simply cease to exist. There will be no punishment. They lived their lives as they saw fit. There will be nothing more. Their souls will die and cease to exist, just as their bodies succumb and ultimately decompose. With so much at stake, and with this being the pivotal point in history where those seeking a relationship with Yahowah are forever separated from those who chose to be religious, Yahowah is sending His people a herald, someone to blow his shofar, a witness to the witnesses. Then one will make an announcement, Wah-ha-ma, so one individual will declare at this moment in time, Kal perfect active third person masculine singular. The depiction of this timing and the limitation to a single individual comes from one Qatsyr. You should choose to build up and decide of your own free will to esteem, honor, and cherish, Silal. You should lift up and think highly of, twice scribed as Kal imperative, volitionally and genuinely lift up and value, this about face. Turning around and observing the signs before the appearance Panna, this notice to change and prepare for 405 the presence, of the way, Derek, the path. Choosing to take action and remove, room, opting of your own free will to take away, hyphal imperative, the obstructions and impediments which are stumbling blocks, mikshal, obstacles in the way which cause people to trip and fall, from the elevated path, min masala, away from the raised highway, from my, to ponder the implications of silal, being lifted up and exalted, becoming esteemed, from one Qatsyr, for my family, am for my people. Yashaya, Yahowah saves, Isaiah 57:14. While Eliah will return to make such an announcement, he is part of a team of two witnesses and thus not a single individual. While we are not told if this particular announcement is being made preceding the time of Yaakov's troubles, or in the midst of it, I suspect that it will be made prior to the arrival of the two witnesses. Yahowah is returning. You can mark it on your calendar. The date is Yom Kippurim, the day of reconciliations in year 6000 year, as the sun sets on October 2, 2033. Therefore, the time remaining to heed this announcement, to choose of your own volition to cherish and honor God's way, and to do an about-face and prepare yourself for His appearance is short. This is among the final notices Yahowah's people will be given to come home. It may be the last blast of the shofar. Join me in becoming part of the solution, removing the impediments blocking the way to Yah. Clear the path home of every religious and political obstacle. If you do, you will live alongside the one who made this pronouncement. We have Yahowah's word on it. 4. KY, Indeed, thus, Ko says, Amar claims and promises, the one who lifts up, Rum, the one who raises others to a higher dimension, and the one who carries away those he has forgiven, Wanasa, the one who spares and pardons, who lives, Sarkan, who dwells 406 and abides, forever as an eternal witness, Ad, for all eternity providing everlasting testimony, the one whose name, Washemhu, the one whose proper designation and renown, is set apart, Kodesh, special and unique, and thus neither well known nor commonly used. He will dwell, Sarkan, he will live and abide within the home, he will camp out and reside, remaining, Kalim perfect active, he will actually and continually, even actively live, from 1 Qatsyr and 4 Qatsyr because the mount reads I not he, in the set apart, Kodesh, special, separated, and unique, highly uncommon and thus unpopular, heights of heaven, Ma'am, holding an esteemed position and high rank, from Ma, consider the implications of Rum, rising on high, along with, Wa'eth. Those slandered for having unpretentiously regretted and corrected their mistakes, Daka, the contrite, accepting that he or she was wrong and regretting having once been misled, in addition to the spirit, Waruwak, of the abased, Shuffle, of the lowered and diminished, even humbled and ill-treated. The spiritually abused, Shuffle Ruwak, the demeaned and degraded of spirit, will be revived and restored, Lachea, will be renewed and nurtured, while invigorating and enlivening, Lachea, the heart, mind, and soul, Lab, the inner person and judgment, of the unpretentious and contrite, Daka, of the slandered who are criticized for having corrected their mistakes and apologized for having been mistaken. Yada Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:15. There are 2 ways to render the opening segment of this prophecy. It is either Yahowah affirming that he is above the fray, high and lofty which, while true, would be out of character, or he is affirming his role as our Savior. I prefer the latter and have, therefore, translated Rum and Nasa as Yahowah offering to lift up and carry away those 407 he has saved. As such, Yahowah is our living and eternal witness, the one whose name matters. The second statement then is best understood in context. The one who Yahowah is lifting up and carrying away so that he can live in the elevated dimensions of heaven is the one who has or will proclaim the previous announcement. This being the case, the implication is that, by responding to it, others will follow. And that, after all, is the purpose of the announcement. Accordingly, Ma'am, translated as heights of heaven, speaks of considering the implications of rising on high, of being afforded greater dimensionality. Those so blessed will be esteemed by God, earning acclaim with the Almighty. Yahowah is, therefore, recognizing those who served on behalf of his people. I am less confident with my rendering of the third stanza because it appears self-serving. It seems to be saying that God appreciates the spirit of those who recognize that they were wrong and who have striven to correct their mistakes. If so, I am relieved, because being contrite in this way and correcting my mistakes defines this stage of my life. I was once lost in religion and enmeshed in politics. I was patriotic and said and did many things I regret. And even since then, it has been 7 steps forward, and 1 back. This is now the 8th and most comprehensive edit of Yada Yahowah, and when we are through, the Covenant family and I will have retranslated and rewritten 25 volumes, devoting 2 years being Daka. This known, the path to chair, restoration and renewal has been a delight. Every moment with the Spirit and the Word has been uplifting, liberating, enlightening, and inspiring. Yes, we did it all on behalf of those the world has abused, and now religious Jews are abasing, but all along, we have been the biggest beneficiaries. My only 408 regret now is that I did not begin sooner, that I was not smarter, and that I cannot work any faster. It may appear contradictory to say that these are my only regrets, but it is true. If not for my past, I would not have been able to serve Yahowah or Yahweh effectively. Like Moses, I had to experience what is wrong with religion and politics and disassociate from both before appreciating why God needs us to walk away from them before approaching Him. Further, if not for my mistakes, I would not have gone back and retranslated and rewritten these books. I would, and so would those who read them, have been impoverished by not knowing what we have learned over the past year. I would not have thought so, but it is nonetheless true. By being contrite, we have learned more, faster, than ever before. Life would become boring if we knew it all. What's the purpose of exploring and living if there is nothing to gain? So long as we are devoted to learning, being observant and thoughtful, the future remains bright. As this suggests, we are part of the process of restoring souls when we learn and share. And no people in all of human history have been as abused and abased as Yahweh. But this will soon change. This transformation will not occur because of a change in God's approach but instead in man's approach to God. When we stop being contentious with Him, He can refrain from being contentious with us. 4. By contrast to what has just been revealed, I will not quarrel, contend with, or plead, lo ribe, I will not accuse, oppose, prosecute, or defend, remaining in a hostile dispute, forever, la olam, nor will my righteous indignation, while lo Qatsyr, nor will my frustration with injustice and disappointment, my discord and dissension, or my displeasure, be unending, la netzach, last forever. 409 Indeed, before my appearance, min la pana eni, prior to the approach of my presence, the spirit, ruach, will lose contact with and ebb away, ataf, will turn aside, fading away, along with, the conscience, neshama, the cognitive, ethical, and moral ability to exercise good judgment, be discerning, and distinguish between right and wrong, good and bad, I have acted upon and endeavored to engage, asar, produced and worked with, assigned and profited from. Yada Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:16. The opening statement affirms that we are approaching the end, when God is going to cease contending with the religious and political. For that to occur, they will cease to exist because neither God nor man is going to change. Yahowah is tired of being disappointed, and who can blame him after all we have done these past 6,000 years to frustrate his intent? The closing statement is profound and somewhat unexpected. Yahowah is going to withdraw the Ruach Kodesh prior to his return. She will ebb away from man as we move from decision day to judgment day. Regarding the second part of God's concluding remark, I had long suspected it from observation, but had not seen an affirmation heretofore in his witness. The one aspect of humanity which differentiates us from other animals is our God-given neshama, conscience. The neshama is our moral compass, our ethical computer, and the human capacity for being judgmental and discerning. Without it, God becomes unknowable, and humans become savages. It has begun to increasingly fail in the preponderance of people, especially in the overtly political and religious, and unfortunately among those younger than 30. Most people are so easily swayed by idiotic notions, from socialism to cancel culture, from global warming to conspiracy theories, even the underlying 410 claims of Black Lives Matter, that it has become obvious humanity is losing the ability to think rationally. Without a neshama, God cannot interact with humankind. As it fails, so does Yahowah's capacity to engage with his people. God has good reason to be disappointed. With the perversity and depravity associated with, A1, as a consequence of the error and wrongdoing of, his ill-gotten and dishonest gain, his deception and thievery, I was provoked to anger, Qatsyr, I was enraged, becoming furious, exceedingly displeased. I lashed out at him, Nakahu, I struck him down, concealing myself, Satar, vanishing, due to my displeasure, Qatsyr, because I was antagonized and furious. Nonetheless, he went on backsliding, walking in a rebellious fashion, Holok Shobab, he behaved like a self-assured and untrustworthy hypocrite, by way, Derek, of his thinking and inclinations, Labe Hugh, his judgment and motivations. Yada Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:17. In the process of adding to their bank accounts, rabbis are impoverishing their souls and bankrupting the nation. The perversity and depravity associated with such thievery have provoked God to the point of all but disappearing. The religious literally pushed Yahowah away, provoking him at the same time. It would not matter whether Yahowah responded by lashing out at his people or abandoning them, they continued to behave poorly. Judaism is a collective rebellion against God. The Holokah walk the religious are so intent on enforcing is a migration away from heaven and, thus, an anathema to the Almighty. 411 Loving and supportive fathers tend to see their children as redeemable. And since a remnant of Israelites and Yahweh will disavow religion and politics en route to the truth, there is hope. I have seen and considered, I have examined, his ways, Derek Hugh, paths and conduct, plural in one Qatsyr, but nonetheless, I will heal him, Rapha Hugh, I will restore him to favor, repair him to health, and renew him to the original state. I will lead and guide him, Naka Hugh, I will reliably and personally direct him, creating the opportunity for him, Hyphal imperfect, to reconciliation and restoration, Shalem, to restitution and being fulfilled, providing comfort and compassion to him, Nishumim Lahu, consoling him, 1 Qatsyr, and to those who are grieving, Walaibal Hu, as well as to those who mourn during the calamity for him. Yada Yahowah liberates, Isaiah 57:18. They had been bad, but they are his children. So Yahowah will once again, this final time, lead them out of harm's way, guiding them away from Miriam, the crucibles of religious and political oppression. For those who are contrite and responsive, willing to go where his words lead, God will heal them. He has promised to restore his relationship with his people, and he will do so. Reconciliation and restoration are in the offing. Peace is at hand. For this to occur, Yahowah will do as he has always done, albeit in short order this time. He will lead Israel and YYV to reconciliation by walking them through his Torah, addressing the Berith conditions and Mikra attendance along the way. Father and son will be escorting the covenant children through Pesach, Matzah, Bikurim, and Shabat, and through Taruw'ah to Yom Kippurim and beyond. 412 With their relationship restored, Yahowah will comfort Israel and YYV, providing the means to resolve their anxiety and pain. This will occur when they willingly partake in his Torah, guidance, incorporating its prescriptions into their lives. Today, on this side of the Taruw'ah harvest, Jews are slowly awakening to Yahowah's best and final offer. They are doing what we, who have led them here, have done, which is to accept what Yahowah is offering. Become Torah observant. Fortunately, while Yahowah's renewing and restoring witness is ebbing away from humankind, that is not the case with YYV. They remain Yahowah's chosen people, the first family. And they will be back on duty after a 2,500-year-long recess. When I bring about, Barbara, when I perform based upon what I have created, from one Qatsyr, the fruit, naub, nourishing product which simulates growth and causes life to flourish, of the lips, safa, of words, of speech and language, there will be reconciliation and restoration, shalom shalom, there will be fellowship through redemption, friendship through relationship, and contentment through blessings, bringing salvation. In one Qatsyr there is one shalom, while in one Qatsyr, 70, and mounted is repeated. For those who are afar, ha rechauk, distant geographically, and for those who are nearby, wala ha karob, those who are in close proximity, approaching and engaged in the relationship, says, Amar, affirms, announces and promises, Yahowah, a transliteration of as directed in his Torah, teaching. Then I will heal him, wa rafahu, I will restore him to favor, repair him to full health, and I will renew him to his original state, mending the relationship with him. Yashar, Yahowah saves, Isaiah 57:19. 413 It has been a long silence, but Yahowah will once again speak to the remnant of his people. He will affirm what he said 3,480 years prior to this date by reciting his Torah, guidance. It is the fruit of Yahowah's mouth, providing salvation by restoring the covenant relationship. This is the message of the Mikra and the focus of the harvest of Taruw'ah, where we are called to proclaim these profound truths. We should be pleased to read that fellowship will be extended to those afar and near. This is good news because, while Yahowah is calling his people home, home is the covenant, even more so than Israel itself. And Israel is a tough place to live. It is infected with rabbis and their Hasidic ilk, and with Hamas Muslims itching to be terrorists. While the country is a beacon of hope in a sea of Islamic despair, in today's political climate, the specter of building millions of homes for the Jews still in the diaspora is not realistic. So, while God wants Israel to live in the land he provided, some will come home to the covenant before establishing residence in the promised land. Yahowah's offer of restoration is not universal, however. While all mankind is invited to avail themselves of his gift, most will be swept away by the raging sea. For there to be harmony and contentment, for there to be peace and fulfillment, the religious and political must go. However, the wickedly wrong and condemnable, the ungodly and unjustified, Rasha, those who remain errant and are guilty of continuing to violate the standard, those who will be judged and condemned, who have been stirred up, will be banished like the retreating tide, Garash, who are tossed to and fro, expelled and driven away, estranged and cast away, like the sea, Kahar Yam, like the ocean, serving as a metaphor for Goim still estranged from Israel, because, they cannot remain silent, Shakat. They 414 cannot accept this favor or be at peace because all they know is dissatisfaction and strife. They do not have the capacity to understand or prevail, Lo Yakol. They will not process this information correctly and therefore will fail to grasp its meaning, so they will neither comprehend nor endure. Hoffel imperfect passive, they will never be able to get out of their own way long enough to understand. And so, the muck and mire, refeshwatit, the sticky slime and malleable, pliable, and impressionable clay, of his waters, Maimhu, will be stirred up and tossed around by the motion of the retreating waves, Garash, will be tossed to and fro, then expelled and driven away, estranged, they will be banished like the retreating tide. Yashar, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 57:20. If we think that the Hasidic in Israel were apoplectic over being excluded from Israel's secular government, it is hard to imagine how enraged they will become when Yahowah returns, and not only excludes them, but continues to excoriate them in the process of expelling them. But you have to love God's sense of humor. After they have sought to define Jews by their religion rather than their ethnicity, Yahowah is comparing the ultra-Orthodox to the sea, which is the Torah's metaphor for Goim. The religious who claim to be right will be branded and banished as wrong. They are beyond hope because they are incapable of understanding. No amount of prophecy is sufficient to cause a believer to accept Yahweh's testimony over that of the ones who betrayed them. Their faith has disabled their capacity to comprehend, and that is a death sentence because we must think our way to God. His every word is a bit of yada, knowledge we can process using our neshama, conscience to bin, understand. 415 Judaism has a long history of shakat, dissatisfaction and strife. It has made life miserable for God's people and driven a wedge between them and their Creator. It will be their undoing, as the Hasidic will not survive their faith. It will kill them, finally putting them out of their misery. Yahowah describes the ultra-Orthodox as muck and mire, malleable, and impressionable clay, tossed to and fro as they lean back and forth in their religious stupor, and stirred up by the rabbis. They will be expelled from the promised land, banished upon the retreating tide, never to return. Remorse over prior religious entanglements, sufficient to disassociate from them and condemn them, is a precondition for admission into the covenant. It is a bridge too far for most believers. Therefore, and so, from one Qatsyr, there is no reconciliation, restoration, or salvation. Ein shalom, there is no peace, renewal, return to health, satisfaction, blessing, ransom, favor, fellowship, or redemption. My God says, Amar Elohim Eni, for those who are wrong and unjustified, Rasha, those who remain errant and are guilty of continuing to violate the standard, those who will be judged and condemned. Yashaya, Yahowah saves, Isaiah 57:21. This is a simple and direct statement from God to us through his prophet, Yashaya. Salvation is from Yahowah. Those who are wrong about Yahowah cannot be saved. Period. This is why Yahowah provided so much compelling information in his Torah and through his prophets about his covenant, and invitations to meet. Our reconciliation with God is predicated upon us knowing, understanding, and accepting the importance of these things to our lives and to the relationship. 416 We end this prophetic portrait God has painted where we began, with trumpets. During the Mikra of Taruw'ah, this is what we are asked to do. Choose to call out, summon and proclaim, read aloud and announce, the news to all publicly. Kara, issue an invitation to be called out, choosing to recite what is written and remember what has been spoken about entering into the company of God and being received and welcomed by him. Kal imperative. Do not spare your throat, bar garden al-hashak, do not withhold or restrain, holding back your speech. Lift up and raise, room, proudly act, increasing the volume of your voice, kaulota, like a shofar, kaha shofar, as if it were the ram's horn trumpet symbol of the Mikra of Taruw'ah. Choose to boldly announce this report openly and publicly, nagad, of your own volition, and because it is your desire, in a straightforward fashion, conspicuously informed by choosing to convey this message serving as a warning, hyphal imperative, to my people, la aneni, to my family, the children of Israel, to the house of Yaakov, while Beit Yaakov, to the family of Israel, they are in religious rebellion and political revolt, peshahem, they are in defiance, indignant and offensive. And they are wrong, having missed the way, chatarchem, they are immoral, guilty, and offensive and will be condemned for having gone astray, forfeiting their opportunity. Yashaya, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 58:1. This message is sponsored by the letter Q. It speaks of the ending of one day, and of the beginning of the next. It draws us to the horizon of new possibilities, of being done with the old and ready for a fresh start. With the light fading on some, it shines ever more brightly and clearly on others. 417 Kara is at the center of it all. Those moving forward and experiencing this opportunity are looking toward the protective ram leading the flock. They see in the Aleph, the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, the first letter in El, God, their Ab, Father. Kara is an invitation to meet with God, to be welcomed into his presence. It is our opportunity to be called out of Rasha to Shalom. Kara speaks of issuing a summons, of calling out to our fellow man, making a public proclamation comprised of the information needed to capitalize upon the announcement by reading and reciting Yahowah's words. It is through Kara that God becomes known and we are received into his company. Our proclamation to God's people is to be bold and blunt, neither diplomatic nor politically correct. Our summons is to be straightforward and public, as if blasting away on a trumpet. There is nothing subtle about any of this. It is a warning, plain and simple. This is the final blast that will be directed toward Israel, the house of Yaakov. Yahowah wants his people to know in no uncertain terms that they have forfeited their opportunity to be included within the covenant because of their pesha, religious and political rebellion. Listen or be condemned. Change or die. For Israelites, Yahowah is providing the ultimate opportunity, especially considering all that the house of Yaakov has done over the centuries to provoke him. Then, those who are right, Zadik, will vanish, disappearing such that those who remain will not know where they have gone, Abad. and no one will give it any thought to pondering the implications. Ish simel lab. Loyal and devoted individuals, ish kesed, will be harvested, gathered together and taken away. Asaph, 418. While no one makes the connection to comprehend what has occurred, bar en bin. For indeed, ky, away from, min, the presence of, Hannah, this disastrous calamity and miserable suffering, such wickedness and wrongdoing, Ra, those who are correct, Hazadik, will be taken away. Asaph. Yashaya 57-1. And then, Wah, he will arrive, entering into, and included among, Bo, the reconciled, tranquil, prosperous, safe, and saved, Shalom. They will be spiritually allied, Nuvak, within, Al, his hue, restful environs, Mishgab, walking in a manner which is right, honest, fitting, and proper, Holok Nakoch, with her, high. 57-2. But as for you, Wah Atom, who are present, Karab, here and now, Henna, you are children of fortune tellers who are blowing smoke, Beni Anan, the seed, Zerah, of adultery, of being unfaithful by being religious and solicitous, Nafwazana. 57-3. Over whom and upon what basis, Almai, are you effeminate and overly sensitive individuals exploiting and mocking, Anag? Against what and over whom, Almai, do you open your mouth and boast, Rachab Pei, sticking out your tongues and prolonging your speeches, Arak Lashon? Are you not, Lo Atom, the children, Yeled, of rebellion who rose up in clear defiance of authority, Pesha, the seed of, Zerah, vain and useless liars with mistaken beliefs, Shekah. 57-4. Are you not those who burn with lust and rage, Ha-ha-kamam, over the lamb and leadership, Bah-ha-el, and under, Takath, every spreading tree, Sherletz Ronan, killing the children, Shakat ha-Yeled, within 419 the depressions, Bah-ha-nakal, beneath the clefts in the rock, Takath saith ha-Selah. 57-5. Your fate, Chalakath, grave, and inheritance, Nakal, are among, Wah, the smooth-talking and insulting flatterers and thieves who destroy, Chelik. There they go as your lot, Shembo Kar Goral Arth. And for them, Gamla Hem, you have poured out drink offerings, Shafak, uplifting, Allah, grain offerings, Mincha. For these things, Ha-al-li, shall I relent and change my mind, Nachum. 57-6. On a high mountain, you have arrogantly, Al-ha-Gaboa, made, Sum, your bed, Mishgabath, raising it up and advocating it, Nasa. Additionally, Gam, there, Sham, you ascribed status to yourselves, Allah, by slaughtering the living, Sabak. 57-7. Then lingering at another, Wachar, door, Deleth, and its framework, Wamazuza, you have set up and placed, Sim, your own memorial and maxims, Zikaran Arth. Indeed, KY, separated from me, Mineth Eni, you have revealed and uncovered, Pilar, your bed and your death briar, Mishgabath, and climbed up into it, Allah, while enlarging it to accommodate many, Rachab. Then, Wah, you established, Karath, for yourselves and with them, Lath Minhem, devotees and lovers, Ahab, in whose bed, Mishgabhem, you have beheld, Chaza, their phalluses, Yod. 57-8. You descended toward, lowering yourself by showing regard for, Shah, Moloch, the lord of the Ammonites and Phoenicians to whom Israelites sacrificed their infants as if he were sovereign, Laha Moloch, with, Var, oil, semen, and numerous perfumes along with your medicinal ointments, Warabaraquak, sending out, Salah, delegations of your 420 anguished envoys, Seerath, as witnesses into perpetuity, Ad, unto the distant separation of, Minrakik, the humbling and lowly status, Shafal, endured upon reaching, Ad. Shaul. 57-9. With the variation and duration of your long rabbinical, Bar-Rob, journey, your ways, Derekath, were wearisome, Yugga, but you never admitted, Lo Amar, it is hopeless and futile, Yarash. Reinvigorated, Shea, you expressed and extended, Matzah, your influence, Yodath, such that you did not show weakness, Al-Ken Loshala. 57-10. What did you find so troubling that you were afraid of me, Wyeth my dog Wyer, such that, KY, you became deceptive in so many ways, becoming proven liars, weaving your delusions on behalf of a false god, Kazab. You have not thought about these things, nor have you been inclined to, while Losimel Labath Joth, be associated with me, Etheni, and you have not mentioned me because you do not remember who I am, Lo Zakar. Have I been negated because I have been silent, Lo Eni Chasha? Has it been so long, Min Olam, that you do not respect me and are against me, Etheni Lo Yer? 57-11. I will correctly recount your work, accurately portraying your customs and practices, any nagad zardaka arth YYV5C7, but it will not be to your benefit, Walo Yalath. 57:12, when you finally cry out for help, Bar Zarkath, let your assemblies and what you have accepted, Kaibuzath, save you, Natsalath. Every one of these meaningless and futile things, as if they were a fleeting breath, Wa'eth Shurl Hem Hebel, 421 the Spirit, Ruach, will grasp hold of and carry away, Nasalakak. But, Wa, the one who takes refuge in me, Hachesa Bar Eni, will inherit, Nahol, the land, Eres, and become an heir to, Wa Yarash, my set-apart mountain, Ha-Kodesh Eni. 57:13. Then one will make an announcement, Wahal you should choose to build up and decide of your own free will to esteem, honor, and cherish, Silal, this about-face, turning around and observing the signs before the appearance, Hannah, of the way, Derek, choosing to take action and remove, Room, the obstructions and impediments which are stumbling blocks, Mikshal, from the elevated path, Min Masala, for my family, Ameni. 57:14. 4, KY, thus, Ko, says, Amar, the one who lifts up, Room, and the one who carries away those he has forgiven, Wanasa, who lives, Sarkan, forever as an eternal witness, Ad, the one whose name, Washem Hu, is set apart, Kodesh, he will dwell, Sarkan, in the set apart, Kodesh, heights of heaven, Ma'am, along with, Wa'eth, those slandered for having unpretentiously regretted and corrected their mistakes, Daka, in addition to the spirit, Waruwak, of the abased, Shafal. The spiritually abused, Shafal, will be revived and restored, Lachea, while invigorating and enlivening, Lachea, the heart, mind and soul, Lab, of the unpretentious and contrite, Daka. 57:15. 4, KY, I will not quarrel, contend with, or plead, Lo Ribe, forever, La Olam, nor will my frustration and my righteous indignation, Walo Qatsyr, be unending, La Netsak. Indeed, KY, before my appearance, Min La Pana Eni, the spirit, Ruwak, will lose contact with and ebb away, Ataf, along with, Wa, the conscience 422 Neshama I have acted upon and endeavored to engage, Asar. 57:16. With the perversity and depravity associated with, Bar A1, his ill-gotten and dishonest gain, Betsahu, I was provoked to anger, Qatsyr. I lashed out at him, Nakahu, concealing myself, Wasatar, due to my displeasure, Qatsyr. Nonetheless, Wa, he went on backsliding, walking in a rebellious fashion, Holok Shobab, by way, Bar Derek, of his thinking and inclinations, Lab Hu. 57:17. I have considered, Ra, his ways, Derek Hu, but nonetheless, Wa, I will heal him, Rapha Hu. I will lead and guide him, Naka Hu, to reconciliation and restoration, Shalem, providing comfort and compassion to him, Mishum Imla Hu, and to those who are grieving, Walaibel Hu. 57:18. When I bring about, Barbara, the fruit, Naub, of the lips, Sappha, there will be reconciliation through the restoration, fellowship through redemption, friendship through relationship, and contentment through blessings, bringing salvation, Shalom, for those who are afar, Ha-Rechauk, and for those who are nearby, Wala Ha-Karob, says Amar, Yahowah. Then I will heal him, restoring him to favor and health, Wa Raphahu. 57:19. However, Wa, the wickedly wrong and condemnable, the ungodly and unjustified, those who remain errant and are guilty of continuing to violate the standard, Rasha, who have been stirred up, will be banished like the retreating tide, Garash, like the sea, Kahar Yam, because, KY, they cannot remain silent or be at peace because all they know is dissatisfaction and strife, Shakat. They do not have the capacity to understand or prevail, unable to process this information correctly. 423 They will fail to grasp its meaning and cease to exist, Lo Yakol. And so, Wa, the muck and mire of the malleable and impressionable clay, Refeshwatit, of his waters, Main Hu, will be stirred up and tossed around by the motion of the retreating waves, then expelled and banished like the retreating tide, Garash. 57:20. Therefore, Wa, there is no reconciliation, restoration, or salvation, Ein Shalom, my God says, Amar Elohim Eni, for those who are wrong and unjustified, Rasha. Yashaya, 57:21. Choose to call out a summons and proclamation, reading aloud during the announcement, issuing an invitation to be called out, choosing to recite what is written about entering into the company of God and being received and welcomed by Him, Kara. Do not spare your throat or hold back in your speech, Bar Garden al-Hashak. Lift up, Room, your voice, Kaul Otter, as if it were a shofar, trumpet comprised of the ram's horn which is symbolic of Taruw'ah, Kaha Shopar. choose to boldly announce this report openly and publicly in a straightforward fashion, conspicuously informing by choosing to convey this message serving as a warning, Wanagad, to my people, La Ameni, to the house of Yaakov, the family of Israel, while La Beth Yaakov, they are in religious rebellion and political revolt, defiant and indignant, Peshahem, and they are wrong, having missed the way, forfeiting their opportunity by having gone astray, Chatarchem. Yashar, Yahowah delivers, Isaiah 58:1. Shout for joy, signal an alarm.